Welcome back to DevOps Pro Conference 2022. I'm Kevin Jacob. I'm your host for today, and I'm a DevOps consultant at Code based out of Helsinki. We have Eran Kinsbruner here with us, a well-known writer, published 4 books in the domain of continuous testing, digital quality, and accelerating software quality, and a friend-end web developer's guide to testing. I do not want to steal any extra second from him because we're here to listen to him. But before we dive into the session, let me remind you about the Q&A and chat boxes. Make sure to ask your questions in the Q&A boxes, and if you have similar questions, make sure to give a thumbs up to the question so that we take those questions first. Eran, over to you. Please go ahead and share the screen now.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome everyone. I will share my screen in just 1 second. Okay, and now you can see the full screen.
Yes,
Uh,
visible, and your screen is visible, and you're audible.
Excellent. So I'm in the field of quality, and if we have high quality, everything else can go on. My session today is about accelerating DevOps processes using AI and machine learning, and that's the main keyword in my title is using and not replacing. Just 3 years ago, while I was actually beyond writing 2 books around software quality, test automation, continuous testing in DevOps, and how you can release higher quality software in an agile and DevOps reality, I started, exploring more and more AI and machine learning tools and practices. And I heard many practitioners saying, okay, these bots and robots and AI tools might replace our own, practice, or our job might not be required anymore because these all smart and intelligent tools. And I decided to explore into much depth AI machine learning throughout the entire channel, through the entire DevOps lifecycle, and see how this tool can really help practitioners rather than replace them. Okay, and during this session, what I'm going to give you is a few tips, few real life examples of AI machine learning tools that are coming to aid, coming to help practitioner in almost any step of the DevOps pipeline. And I hope, again, you're not going to be experts in AI machine learning in 40 minutes. No one is, okay? And I will soon explain why. But you will get the understanding of what these tools can really do to help you, and really how to identify even if there is a need for such help. Because, if something isn't broken, you don't want to fix it, or you don't want to even break it. So let's dive in and see what is it all about. A word about myself, very briefly, because I'm already available on Slack, Twitter, LinkedIn. I have my own blogs. I've written these 4 books, as Kevin introduced me, and thank you, Kevin, again. I'm working with Perforce Software. I am the DevOps evangelist for actually 2.5 brands within Perforce. One of them is Perfecto, the other one is BlazeMeter. Recently, I was also part of the SAS, the Static Code Analysis Tools, which are Clockwork and QAC. I'm also an ambassador for Cypress, which is a dev tool for cross-browser testing. Yeah, if you want to reach me during the session, after the session, on all channels, feel free to do so, because I acknowledge that in 35 minutes or so, you really cannot get everything. Let's dive in and see, okay, why is it even good? Okay, what are the benefits of AI and machine learning to anyone? Okay, and when you're dealing with DevOps is a full team, right? DevOps is just a practice, but it's a practice that encapsulates a major team, which includes developers, product managers, testers, business analysts, operations, and support guys. So it's a full team. And I'm giving this intro because AI machine learning can help each and every individual within a DevOps squad or DevOps team or an entire organization. And while I was writing my 3rd book, I hope you can see it, I came across this Deloitte survey around state of AI in the enterprise. It was the third edition already, and they were gathering a lot of information from one survey to the next. What you can see here is a bunch of benefits, a bunch of actually problems. Benefit usually is very tied into a problem. Okay, so think about improving decision making, enhancing existing products and services, making processes more efficient, making employees more productive, discovering new insights, lowering costs, okay, creating new products and services. These are all benefits, but you wouldn't use a benefit if you don't have a problem. Okay, these organizations which are answering that AI machine learning can help them improve decision making, they might have a problem to do proper decision making. They are lacking data, they are lacking time, data is too big for them to analyze. Okay, making employees more productive, this might be a problem with automation of processes, whether it's in testing, it's in code reviews, it's in operational classification of issues coming from production. It can be many things, right? So AI and machine learning goes throughout the entire software delivery chain, software delivery lifecycle, and you can see here how it varies and how it, sorry, how it really gives the practitioners, the decision makers, great tools for them to really make better their job much better. So if you want to see an example from an enterprise, everyone knows JP Morgan Chase. So they've just recently published their own AI research. And what they've done through their research, it was around cryptography. Crypto, obviously it's a financial business. So what they have done, they created an AI algorithm, an engine that can use real data coming from their own services, to generate synthetic data that they can then compare and beautify, refine, and get more decisions, more predictions, more recommendations to their customer base. So what they have done, they created this nice algorithm that computes real data. They developed a generator, that's kind of the AI algorithm. And after calibrating this generator, they ran it and computed metrics for synthetic data. They then compared and validated that the data that they generated synthetically is good enough, refined it, and this is how kind of they are optimizing and making better decisions to their own customer base. Another example from the industry, approximately 3 out of every 4 organizations, 76%, this is from DevOps.com, reported that they are prioritizing AI and machine learning over other IT initiatives. That's their top priority actually overall, okay? So what I'm saying about that, if you look at the previous slide and this one, okay, our organizations are maturing. The complexities of problems are also increasing, which means there needs to be a better and intelligent way to do business, to develop software, to recommend things to the customers, to serve the customers, and also to improve us, the practitioners, developers, testers, support engineers, DevOps engineers. So these are times where the organizations and the technology are transforming, and you need to embrace AI machine learning rather than just pushing it away, because that's not the right thing to do. AI is not going to replace you. It's just going to aid and fix things that aren't well optimized, like you see here in the JP Morgan example. So if you look at AI startups, obviously, going back to the previous slide, you see that it's boosting. We see throughout almost any vertical in the industry, healthcare, retail, computer vision, and many other verticals, new companies, new solutions. And keep in mind, AI, machine learning tools are good for a specific problem. You wouldn't see one company, I can give you from the testing space, we have Applitools, right? Applitools are doing visual analysis of web and mobile applications, right? They are not doing support or code reviews with AI. They're not generating code with AI or other things that you see on the screen. So good AI tools are very focused on a specific problem, on a specific challenge. So let's look at AI machine learning within DevOps. And as I mentioned, in the time that we have in this session, I'm going to show you how AI machine learning can really solve and help improve, specific practices through each and every phase within the DevOps pipeline. And everyone knows this infinite DevOps diagram, which takes you from the planning through coding, building, testing, up until monitoring in production. And for that, you need to do kind of code preparation planning, you need to do experimenting, and obviously you need to deploy. That's kind of what cloud that are guiding from an algorithm of AI. But let's start from the first phase. The first one is writing your code. Okay, what can AI do for you in the coding phase? I'm going to go, as I mentioned, through each and every phase in the DevOps pipeline and give you some examples. Okay, so in the coding phase, there are tools that can generate code. Okay, I'm not going to cover all the industry, right? It's we will need a few weeks for that. But things that are happening in the coding phase that can be done better, are code reviews. Okay, why is that important? When you are writing your X lines of code and you're doing, I have a customer who is doing per each individual, they're doing at least 7 pull requests a day. Okay, think about it, 7 pull requests a day, and let's say you have a team or a squad of 7 engineers or 5 engineers. It's quite a lot of changes happening in a single repository. Okay, so think about it, the time to open the commit, to review it, to approve it, to deploy it to the master branch, it takes a lot of time. So there are today some nice tools within the code review tool chain. Okay, some of them are actually delivered by Amazon. There are other tools out there, some of them are still emerging, that can really take your code, okay, your repositories, look at existing reviews, previous reviews, through obviously there is an algorithm that does the training and can really analyze, again, not each and every fault in the code, okay, and we're not yet there, but things such as code styling, memory leaks, things that exceptions that aren't caught, unused code that is not even exercised throughout the entire runtime of the application. Things like that can be captured by AI and machine learning algorithms and really expedite the entire developer flow. So in a new reality, if you like, it doesn't take the job away from the developer, but the developers, once he's doing the pull request, a tool goes and does the review for him and kind of certifies his code changes and expedites the code review process at the end of the day. And by the way, it's bulletproof because the fact that it's being reviewed by an AI algorithm doesn't really do any damage. It just expedites the process because once it's merged into the CI, okay, a new build acceptance testing is going to be triggered. So you're going to validate through regression all of your code changes in any case. It just takes away one task which takes too much time, too much resources, and sometimes it doesn't really add new value. Okay, it just takes too much time. Okay, and this is exactly where AI tools can really capture and optimize this time. And I mentioned Amazon, so that's kind of what Amazon Code Guru is doing. So you write, you review the Code Guru profilers build and test it for you, and gives you the kind of the findings. Okay, it also helps you find the most expensive line of code. Most expensive line of code can be around uh, unused code that is not optimized, code that can generate defects, memory leaks, as I mentioned earlier, and other things. It can be a set of things that this algorithm is trained to identify and give you these insights. Okay, and by the way, it can be in parallel to another, black belt code reviewer, your team lead, if you like. But look at, if you are a developer on this call, look at Code Guru, see if this can be a good fit for your team. If you are spending too much time today on code reviews, this can be a nice aid for your practice. So with regards to the coding phase, this is one example. The other one can be the Google service, and the Google service uses the AI to train the machine learning models using the Google Cloud. And what it does, it can actually help you build an algorithm for your own for your own project. Okay, you can. This is exactly how the flow would work. You can code your model, you can train it using the Google services, and use the pre-generated algorithm that Google is giving you through their AI platform. So there are actually tools out there for you to customize and build your own algorithms for your own DevOps needs. When you're going to the build phase, there can be many practices in the build process. What DivBlue are doing, what they're calling themselves is AI for code. Basically, they are doing basic unit testing in an automated fashion. As you can see here in Java, within the IDE, after you write your code, your changes, you are fixing a bug, they can automatically scan the code and generate for you a unit test. Okay, you click on write test, the DivBlue looks at the changes that were made and generates unit test blocks that can be executed within the IDE and give you fast feedback on your code changes. So DivBlue helps you with BAT, build acceptance testing, again, live in runtime upon each code change. This is, in my mind, quite an exciting advancement. And by the way, as a director of quality in my past, I wouldn't just rely on that, okay? But this is definitely some complementary solution for developers who are either lacking time, lacking skill set. Some of the developers aren't well skilled or trained to write their own test cases. So this is something that can really help. They give the baseline for the build acceptance testing. Developers can capture and take it from there to the next level. So DivBlue, a nice solution for the build phase that can complement the developer's work. In the testing phase, okay, testing is one of, in my mind, of the most evolved areas in DevOps as of today, and you can see that there can be 5 different levels of maturity in AI with testing. Advanced, one of the autonomous testing tools out there. There aren't many autonomous testing solutions out there. Advanced is one of the early adopters, if you like, and they've built this maturity model, and I think they are between level 4 and level 5. Proof is in the pudding. That's what one of my CEOs told me in the past. But what they claim to do is to really look at an application and automatically generate test automation scripts for this application under test. Okay, that's the highest maturity. The majority of the tools and the majority of the marketplace today is between level 2 and level 3 as we are today, which means tools for testing using AI can look at an application, look at a scenario, and see or make sure that the elements that the test is interacting with can be within the DOM tree of the web application or other native elements of your mobile application. These tools can self-heal, if you like, the scripts, making sure that they are using the right object locators, the element locators of the application under test. Some of them can do a full end-to-end scenario recording of a web or a mobile application. So think about, let's go to JP Morgan Chase. Okay, if you go to the web application, these tools within level 2 and 3 can go and record through clicks within the IDE or their own proprietary tools. There are different tools out there. You can generate a full end-to-end scenario of a journey of a user, which goes to the JP Morgan Chase website, logs in, and deposit or checks his funds on the JP Morgan Chase website. Okay, so I would say the market today is between level 2 and 3, but there are testing tools, as you can see here, that can be used either to do change recognitions, visual analysis. I mentioned earlier Apply tools. There is also Hapo, and there are other visual testing tools. There are also model-based testing like Curiosity Software. They have their own model-based test automation using AI. And by the way, when you deal with testing and development, analytics and big data analysis through AI is also something that is really good to identify the root cause of a failure in an automated fashion. I have customers who are running over million or even 2 millions of executions in a given quarter. During this quarter, think about analyzing 2 million test executions results for a human being, it's very complex, it's error prone, and takes too long. With AI, you can go and bake these AI reports SDKs into your test framework and generate reports based on filters. Okay, which test fails because an environment wasn't stable, an element locator wasn't found, a pop-up kind of blocked the testing screen that you wanted to cover, okay, and you couldn't run with your test. These are all noise that you want to filter out. Analytics with AI can really help you with that. As I mentioned earlier, there can be autonomous testing tools on web, on mobile. This is just an example of an autonomous mobile application testing, which goes through an end-to-end application. This is StubHub in this example, and the tool scans the entire user journeys, all the screens that you have in the application, and creates a map. If you know XMind, this is kind of the XMind of a test, which goes all through the entire journeys of the application, creates the mapping, learns all the objects, all the element locators of the application, and allows you to quickly generate through visual layers and keywords all your test scenarios. This is a huge time saving for an organization. Let's move now to the operate. So just to wrap up until now, we looked at the coding phase. We looked at some code reviews and creating your custom machine learning algorithms, similarly to what JP Morgan Chase were doing in the earlier slides that I showed. We then looked at the build phase. We only looked at build acceptance testing, unit testing through the Div Blue solution. Obviously, there can be much more use cases. This is just one. We then looked at testing phase, the testing phase, and testing phase can be done through better analytics on the results, on the test results, can be auto-generated scenarios through autonomous testing, and as I showed earlier, it can be through element and self-healing, element locators and self-healing, mapping the entire application so you always have the right map of your application. So if you're changing your application flow, you're adding a new screen, these algorithms can really adjust and auto-adapt so you can always test the latest and greatest. Operation, okay? This is about AI machine learning in DevOps, what we call AI Ops. And AI Ops is how you can really enhance your operational productivity, okay, by using big data analytics coming pre and from production to collect and aggregate things that are coming from your end users, from your customers, so you can A, meet your SLAs, B, serve your customer better, and C, in many cases, predict and prevent things from happening or coming into production. You don't want escape defects to production, and if you can predict and find them earlier through these enhanced intelligent algorithms, obviously you are in a much better phase. And going back to the previous slide of the benefits of AI, being more productive, your employees are saving time, you are saving costs, you are delighting your customers. Everything goes obviously through this kind of technologies. I mentioned earlier on the reporting for testing, but automatically also diagnose root causes of support tickets, things that are coming again from your end users to your support systems. So let's look at what AI Ops consists of. Okay, AI Ops is an aggregation of multiple practices. Okay, it looks at APM, application monitoring, ITIM, which is the infrastructure monitoring, and the service monitoring. So it's actually AI Ops is a mix of three processes or three practices. Sometimes it's going to be in the same team, sometimes it's going to be in different teams. But what you can see here is that based on data, the data and the algorithm is going to analyze monitoring dashboards from production, events, tickets, logs, a lot of things that are kind of flooding your backend services. And you actually, without these tools, you are clueless. You don't know how to optimize, how to better serve your customer base. And with AI machine learning flooding or flowing through the entire chain of APM, ITIM, and ITSM, these are the three layers, as I mentioned earlier, you can be better serving your own customer base. And by the way, also be more agile and efficient, talking about shift left, right? You can be more efficient with your own developers, DevOps engineers, and support. So let's look at a few examples. And by the way, that's one of the AI ops maturity models. There can be many, okay? But like you have seen with the testing maturity model, the testing level 5 that Upvance was creating was autonomous. Same here. When you can get to this autonomized state of proactive data optimization, tuning algorithm based on performance, closed loop automation with self-healing, as I mentioned earlier, tickets, monitoring, logs, and stuff like that you can process in an automated fashion and guide your support engineers, your DevOps engineers. You are in a level 4 and 5. Okay, there are other levels of maturity where you're just kind of building the data, building the processes, building the engines, feeding them with data so they are reliable. AI and machine learning without reliability, without proper data training and model trainings, obviously are unreliable and therefore not just useless, actually they can cause damage. So you want to make sure that when you are baking machine learning and AI into your services, they are well trained, they are very reliable, very robust. So if you look at some of the benefits once you're kind of employing AI ops into your organization, we talked earlier about logs, tickets, monitoring in production, dealing with events. So actually, you can transform your organization in a much more in higher velocity, if you like. You can achieve faster mean time to resolution. You can fix issues faster because you're getting the right insights from either logs, support tickets, classification, automatic classification of the issues. You can go from reactive to proactive to predictive management and really predict alerts that are going to come from a specific area, which means you can really put either the right logs, the snapshots, and stuff like that. So once things happen or break, you're already prepared and it feeds into this shorter MTTR. Obviously, you can reduce the risks to your end users, to your product reliability, availability, and much more. By the way, this is just what Gartner are saying about AI ops and what AI ops can do for continuous insights and professional IT operations nowadays. We talked a bit about MTTR, and this is kind of how you reduce the AI ops time from the problem identification to the resolution. Okay, automatic detection, understanding, realizing what's happening, fixing it, verifying it, and obviously deploying it, sometimes even before your end users are aware of that. Okay, this is an example of a company called Validatech. Okay, and what they've built with AI is obviously a nice correlation and understanding of issues happening in production. They were able to identify issues that were happening, classify them properly, reduce the noise to their end users by fixing them in-house without kind of all the fuss and all the noise and all these hot fixes that we are all familiar with and trying to kind of avoid. And they did it in different ways of deployment of these algorithms, SaaS and on-premise, depending on the customer serving that they have. But the fact that they have built these algorithms, they also looked at how they can represent to the users, the support engineering in that case, the findings, and with that they integrated with Splunk, SolarWinds, and Remedy. So everyone is kind of looking at very visual, very easy to understand and consume data representation. The future of AI ops as of 2022, I believe, we have seen tools in the APM space, in the support space. We have Logs.io and others. I believe that AI ops, like the testing space that I spoke about earlier, is going to be an integral part of DevOps. Okay, AI ops is going to shift into the DevOps processes. Tools are going to be more adopted. You have seen in the previous slide, right? These tools with AI ops are already being built with the integration into the CI/CD pipeline, the dashboards, the tools that developers and DevOps engineers are using already, so they can make an impact without disrupting. Okay, think about it. Tools are not doing your job. You as a practitioner is doing the job, and if the tools is disrupting processes rather than kind of playing along with the process, it's not a good fit for your organization. Maybe not now, maybe in the future. So these tools, in order for them to be successful and to be integral part, they need to play nicely, to be integrated into the DevOps pipeline tool chain. Okay, and this is when these vendors are building the tools, and you have seen the AI machine learning tool landscape. They are building them with integration in mind. Okay, so obviously once it's done successful, it will facilitate what I was just talking about, cross-function collaboration rather than disruption. AI ops, as I mentioned, is also part of monitoring, but I want to zoom just on the monitoring phase here and look at monitoring and observability, because I think that monitoring and observability are critical. This is exactly where you are feeding from production, from your end users, data that can shape your product, not just identify issues, outages, problems in productions, patterns of usage. It can actually tell you from a product management perspective what is lacking, what is working, what is not working. This screen that you see right now, or slide, is taken from logs.io. Logs.io are able to filter through millions of lines of logs, and everyone who is in this AI ops domain knows that logs is a huge challenge, because it's all good when everything is working, but when something is breaking, when you want to find patterns, when you want to find root cause of issues, when you want to predict and prevent issues from slipping to your end users, you need an intelligent way of kind of sorting, slicing and dicing the data, so you can give better advices to your practitioners. So logs.io are doing exactly that. They can identify patterns in logs. They can look at logs that are old, taking space and storage on your servers, and allow you to really eliminate them from your overall processes. By that, they can actually make you much more productive. Other examples, traceable. Okay, traceable are also the ability to look at logs and threats, and by correlating them into logs, they can really highlight things of impact, things that can impact or be a threat to your own backend services, to your own production environments. I didn't talk a bit about APM tools like New Relic and the likes. There are also tools like Lightrun. Okay, tools that can really put snapshots and logs in live production environments and feed you into your ID, feed insights into your own ID. So as a developer, think about the power of these tools, right? You are a developer, you are working from your Visual Studio C or your IntelliJ IDE, and once you employ this agent, these smart agents, you can actually put breakpoints in production code without it's just one way. It's a read-only pattern, but it gives you the ability to understand what is happening to production, what is slowing down some of your traffic, or what is causing some errors and exceptions, and fix them, deploy them again without interrupting production environments. This is huge. Okay, so everything that I've showed or talked about in this very short session is all about embracing technologies which are much more intelligent to make our lives easier, be more efficient and productive, and see at the end of the day we want to build the better products with a higher quality, with a higher availability in production. And to do so, these tools can simply do things much better than we can. Okay, so what I usually say is, if you want to start using AI and machine learning tools within your day job, whether you are a test engineer, you are a developer, you are a DevOps engineer, support, monitor, like an ops person, okay, start with identifying the most painful area within your process. Maybe you are very efficient in testing, but you are less efficient in analyzing tickets, meeting your SLA to your customer base. Try to understand what is your most cost consumption area or pain point in your entire pipeline. There can be obviously much more than one, but start with one, okay? look at this problem, look at what is in the marketplace. If you recall the earlier slide in this session, I've shown you across different verticals the bunch of like dozens of vendors, dozens of tools. By the way, some of them are even free. Some of them you can actually build your own on your own, right? I've shown you the Google Cloud AI platform. The Google Cloud again allows you to create your own algorithm. So if you identify a problem that slows you down, employ your developers, let them play with this AI platform within Google. Amazon has their own capabilities to do AI algorithm development, and see if this kind of solution can help you start solving the problem. Solving the problem is not just a one and done, right? It's a continuous thing because you are continuously developing and maturing the product. So the next item in your kind of evolution towards AI is to prove value, to see that this algorithm can really solve and give you something that you didn't know about prior to using this algorithm. And then continue and maximize the value with AI and machine learning in other areas of your organization. I wouldn't go and do all in AI machine learning in dev, in test, in operation and production, right? This is going to be a very disruptive thing for you to do. Start again with the most painful area and obviously climb and grow to the next. Another example that I wanted to do just before we are letting some, providing some time for questions is a nice example that I was dealing a bit with chatbots within web applications when I ran into, again, when I was writing this book, and I looked at Amazon, and Amazon has their own chatbots algorithm mechanism or engine. You can actually build through the AWS services, to the Amazon services, your own chatbot. You can train it. You can feed it with the obviously the question and answers. You can test it on the AWS cloud. So it's no longer, if we were doing this session 2 years ago, it might have been kind of a trend. The market isn't shaped or mature enough. We are already looking today at hundreds of tools of value, which proves the value around AI machine learning in each and every phase of your DevOps pipeline. There are free tools. There are tools that can help you build and ramp up algorithms, again, for free. And you just need to understand or look at this visual. Be calm, learn machine learning, understand how you can use it for your benefits, okay, throughout the pipeline, and be more successful. Because DevOps, and we are in a DevOps conference today, DevOps is all about releasing value faster to your customers with high quality. Okay, again, Agile was about small chunks, MVPs, etc. DevOps is all about continuous value with quality delivery to your end users. And to do so, especially nowadays with all the smart architectures, microservices, cloud native applications, you need something that can really deal with all these different dependencies, the different complexities that you are dependent on as an application developer. So with that, I want to leave about 5 minutes for questions in case there are questions. But again, this was just kind of in a very high level for less than 40 minutes. I cannot dive as deep as I wanted. It took me about 400 pages of a book to dive into each and every segment or phase in the DevOps pipeline. But I just wanted to prove to you guys that today we are like middle of 2022 almost. AI machine learning is a reality. It's serving different practitioners through each and every phase of the DevOps pipeline. If you are not using it today, you want to identify the pain that you have within each and every phase, start playing, start entertaining yourself, your team members with the available tools and capabilities, and see how they can benefit you, how they can make you a better practitioner, developer, tester, support engineer, anyone within the entire pipeline. With that, I would stop my sharing of the screen and go back to you, Kevin, and see if there are any questions or challenges from you or the audience.
Yes, there is questions from the audience, and we're going to take that question first. So, for someone who does not have any experience with AI and ML, what would be your tips to get into and start learning it as fast as possible? So it's more like a generic question towards AI and ML than towards AI ops.
It's a great question. So first, just to learn AI for your own benefit, there are many ways to do it. And as I mentioned in this session, you have AI that can be used across so many different practices. So if you want to get started with AI, first understand what is the domain that you want to use AI, whether it's in your code development, code reviews, support and ticketing, logs monitoring, or testing. It can be in different areas. But first, AI machine learning are based on algorithms, uh, creation, maintenance, monitoring of that, and training. Okay, training and using a lot of data, right? I can tell you that from many tools that I've used as a practitioner to have reliable machine learning algorithms, these algorithms were using tons of data to realize the different patterns, the different options and possibilities, so they can be very robust. So if you are the one that asked this question, wants to dive into machine learning, I just referenced two vendors. Go to Google. Google Cloud has this AI platform. It guides you through creation of a simple algorithm using machine learning. Just come open-minded, come with an idea of what you want to accomplish with this AI solution. But start with Google. There is ton of information. Even in GitHub, you can find a lot of examples of ready to use algorithms. Maybe don't start building your own. Try to leverage and benefit from some of them that are already out there for you to use. But go to the experts, Google, Amazon, see what their platforms can help you. I mentioned earlier Amazon with chatbots. You can actually create an algorithm for chatbot on the AWS services for free. So you don't need to even pay money. You just go Amazon, Google, GitHub, find something, start to play with it, see what is the best usage for your own good.
Wonderful. There is another question which is in the chat. It is also one of my questions. So I'm going to read it out. In the testing phase, where do you see AI should focus on helping software testers? What is missing from your experience?
Oh, in testing, there is not just one. Testing is still, in my mind, one of the biggest bottlenecks in DevOps, and it's because it's not always baked into the sprint. We always talked about shift left and stuff like that. So to do proper test automation, testing needs to be done or created in parallel to the developer doing his code changes. What is happening today is that developers are finishing the pull request, they are doing some of their unit testing, and then in the good scenario, the tester is getting the code and starts building his own automation, and this is a huge lag. So automated code generation, anything that can expedite the test creation, and AI can help with that, is a huge benefit and kind of a necessity in today's world. The second thing which we keep hearing is the reliability. Everyone in the testing space uses the word flaky. Inconsistent test results. You are running your test scenario on one platform, you are getting a pass. You are running it on a different platform, it fails. It passes 20% of the time, it fails 80% of the time. False negatives, unreliable results, and it causes a lot of noise within the dev and test teams. So getting AI to analyze the test results in a smart way and really give you the confident answer. Is it a bug? Is it a test failure because it's flaky, and why it's flaky is a huge requirement today, especially when I mentioned earlier 1 million executions a quarter. You cannot simply analyze such huge volumes of test data on your own. You need something to help you. So AI with test analysis is also something that is required. I think you're on mute, Kevin.
As a follow-up question towards software testing, so in process of continuous testing in DevOps,
Yeah.
we when we try to categorize the errors that has been received from um, testing pipelines, how can we categorize the errors? What are the generic categories, or when we try to label the data, what would be the data that in your eyes can be categorized into?
Sure. So there can be environment issues. Okay. Let's say your environment isn't well set up. It can be test data issues. The test data that your tests are relying on is outdated, irrelevant. Third, it can be a bug in the test, right? The test didn't wasn't designed properly, so there are unexpected things happening on your screen and that the test cannot really capture. So as I gave an example in my session, a pop-up comes on top of the screen while you're doing the testing and you're unable to capture it within your test design. Elements that are changing when you're doing React Native or Flutter and stuff like that, some of the elements are dynamic. Okay, so you're building your test, you need to acknowledge that. And last one is, I would say compatibility relevant category. For example, a test that runs on one platform needs to be done that way when it's running. Let's say, just take one example from the mobile. When you have a smartphone on Android and you have a foldable on Android, if the foldable smartphone is folded, obviously it has a smaller screen. Your test needs to acknowledge that when it's searching for an element or when it's swiping, or the menu might be in a different state. So kind of test compatibility to the platform under test can also be a category here. And there can be some others, but these are just few examples.
And also, maybe, do you see this after categorizing these errors that has been from the pipelines? ML algorithms could also redirect into bug fixing, or maybe in this case of environment error, maybe trying to trigger a rerun that might fix an issue, or in case of compatibility issues, trying to point towards fixing into a different version of the bugs. What's your take on that?
So definitely, I think that once you are able to properly classify categories of failures, okay, this can automatically translate, but the defect management system needs to be kind of prepared to accept these categories, right? That obviously each and every failure category can be translated into a defect category, right? Wrong test, improper environment, compatibility issues, and then you can classify the defect and assign it to the right person, whether it's a developer, it's a test engineer, it's the manager, whatever. So yeah, it's kind of the full journey of classifying the failure reasons and then classifying the right defect in Jira or other defect systems. You're on mute again, Kevin. Sorry.
Nicholas asks question regarding how do you keep the stability of libraries changing, or they are not supposed to supported anymore? How do you approach this? Related to the same topic we were discussing.
So you mean code libraries or how?
I think what I understand is the code libraries that we're using to run the or like create the DevOps pipelines or the tests.
So when you are dependent on specific libraries and some of them either might change or have issues or defects in them, you can obviously, and I don't know if that's just a 100% AI related question. It's more like kind of a process related question, because as a developer, when you are importing or using a library, a third party libraries or other APIs, as part of your application development, okay, you need to put the right hooks and you need to monitor, that this library is still supported. It has a new revision that you need to use, because and sometimes you can build using AI kind of a monitoring layer that looks at these libraries and tells you, hey, they are maybe are outdated, or they can scan the library website and understand that there have been some changes or defects that you need to fix on your end. But this is quite a complex use case, if you like, that is very far along the way within AI and coding, the coding phase. I haven't run into a good AI use case around library monitoring and kind of maintenance, if you like. That's kind of a maintenance question here. So I would say it's still semi-manual process on the developer side to make it rather safe for him to use. So I don't think that it's AI specific unless you build your own algorithm. Today, I haven't seen something automatic that does it for you today. I might be wrong.
Something to work on and something to look forward to.
Definitely.
Ron, I need to wind up the session. There was a lot of interesting topics, questions, good interactions happening. If you could post some of your social media links into the chat so that our listeners could follow up, that would be really nice. I'm going to wind up the session here, and thank you, Eran, and thank you for everyone who has joined.
Thank you so much.